I'm going to give a little special side video of maximizing your fabric. There is times where you might not have the number 5 you want or the number 4 you want. And if you're going off on your own journey, you will need to kind of piece together some of the fabrics or pull from your stash. The other thing that is, if you pre-washed fabric, which I don't recommend, I don't do it, you might be short because fabric shrinks, cotton shrinks. And if you're washing a fat quarter or you're washing a half yard, they're gonna fray. So you might need some of these tips and tricks that I'm going to show you of making bigger arcs with using smaller arcs and expanding to stretch your fabric stash a little bit longer. So stay with me. We'll show you how to do that. But again, if you haven't washed your fabric, please don't. You don't need to. My fabrics don't run, and they're great quality, and I don't wash my quilts until after I've finished the whole quilt. Then I will wash it. Keep working, stay creative, and don't sweat the small stuff. When you open your kit, if you're making the Hills kit exactly as our color map is, you're going to find out that where is the rest of my dove? Dove calls for 2 5s, 3 4s, 2 number 3 arcs, 2 number 2 arcs, which I have not cut out because I ran out of fabric, and then 5 number 1 arcs. I managed to squeak out 6, and I will tell you that 6th one, it's a little dog-eared, or I should say not dog-eared, it's a little scrappy because I have a little cut divot there. I don't have perfect edges. I cut it out just in case, just to have it, but I'm not probably going to use it. But there it is, because it's not perfect. So you say, she didn't give us enough fabric. Well, what I do is I interchange vintage white, which is a fat quarter that you get in your kit that has not been allotted in the color map. So on the color map, as you're looking through, it gives you all this information, but you don't ever see vintage white being used. It's always dove, 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 dove. So I'm telling you now that if you're doing it exactly like this, you're going to run out of your dove. Sorry about that, but it's totally fine because vintage white is a lovely, lovely substitute. Based on the fabric requirements on the back, we do include a fat quarter of vintage white. So they're interchangeable, easy to substitute. And when I ran out and I had a couple of customers say, I don't have enough fabric, that's when you're going to move to your vintage white. Ideally, you cut out your number 5 arcs and your number 4 arcs out of your big half yard cut of dove. And then you cut out whatever you can get out. And I'm turning fabric, and like with this much scraps left, I've done a really good job at not wasting hardly anything. So you don't have to always have your fold. Like I said, a couple of lessons ago, you don't always have to have your fold right on the grain. You can, as you start moving through cutting, you're just maximizing the use of your fabric. So now I'm going to cut out a couple. I need 2 number 2s. So I'm just going to cut them out right here. And you'll get everything you need, plus you have leftover vintage white to use wherever you'd like. So here is the vintage white, and look how similar it is to the dove. It's just a little brighter, and you can see the difference, especially here. That's because when you put it on the batting, it's going to pop a little bit more. It's interchangeable, and this is all of the vintage white you have left over. So if you're running into this with linen and you don't have enough linen, or you didn't cut to the maximum potential of the fabric, you can use the vintage white as a substitute. And finally, if for some reason you made a mistake and you really cut and left a lot of waste, go into your stash and grab some cream or white or some whatever you've got. It will work just fine, and not to worry. I'm near the end point of making my fans. And what I found out is that, because I didn't follow the color map, I just made what I like. I've realized that I've used 4s up, and maybe I didn't also cut 100% accurate, which is typical of me. And I don't have enough 4s in this color range that I want to use in this position. And I also ran out of my 5s and my blues because maybe I didn't cut them quite right. I didn't keep a number, which is fine. It's okay. I'm going to show you what quilters do, because this is our history and our past, of I need a 4 and I have a 1 and a 3 because this is the same size as this. I don't need this size. I need the one in between. So I'm going to cut up my 1, add a piece to each side of the 3, and make it a 4. That's what I also did here. And I thought I'd just share with you doing this so we can move on. And I'm going to basically turn my number 1 piece like there and fold my number 3 piece here. And then what I'm going to do is with my Molehills template, so I need to get this much extra on each side. So what I'm going to do is put this underneath here, and I'm going to cut to make sure I have extra. So I need a 4 out of this. So with my 4, I have plenty of room. So I just need it to here, but I want to have the extra room in case I make a mistake. And this extra room here is nice in case I don't make my angle perfectly. So I have extra. But I'm going to mark this back fabric, okay? Then I'm going to pull this out. So I don't need this right here anymore. I just need to get the angle right. And now I'm going to cut this. And these are the extra added on pieces. So I'm going to cut this here, okay? This is no longer needed, that piece here. And what I'm going to do is bring this back to the machine. Oh, this goes on this side. Wait, where does this go? Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the machine, and I'm going to add these 2 pieces on. So with right sides together, and again, there's an ever such slight curve. I'm going to do the same thing I've done with all my curves. I'm going to add it on, and I'm going to sew it, and I'm going to move it. I don't need to pin it, but I'll move it so that these curves, it's so gentle, but it's important for it to lay flat. So I'm going to sew that on, and then over here, I'm going to sew this on. And you even see I had a little piece that was cut off because, again, I was maximizing the cut of my fabric, but it's okay. It's all going to get hidden in the seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to go sew these 2 on, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I cut it. Okay, so here's what both of these look like with extensions. So let's trim them back, do a real quick trimming. And I know that I'm just sticking with my center line here because this has already been established. That center line, lining up the pre-cut areas. Staying right on what you had before. Okay, so here's the 4. So it's just really nice to be able to not worry about not having everything you need. You just add some extensions. Oops, I slipped. Okay, there's that, there's that. And there's our number 4. And you're not even gonna, once the quilt's all done, you're not even gonna know that that even happened. This kind of stuff never bothers me. It actually tickles me. I like having those traditional quilting hacks or quilting, make do things in quilting. I always think that's fun, and it brings us back to our roots. brings us back to our roots. 4. Oh no, shoot, this is a 5. Oh, don't cut that. Okay, don't do that. Remember, think before you cut. This is a number 5. Okay, so I am getting it all lined up. There we go, snarky blade. Okay, so this is one of my final blocks I'm making. I'm just about done making all my blocks. And so we're gonna sew that puppy together and it's gonna be beautiful.